Okay, good evening. Welcome to Ultimate Project 13, which is going to be a real detailed look at two pretty poor end zone points in the Brute Squad Scandal game from Boston Invite 2011. But, however, before watching this video, I'd really like you to go back to Ultimate Project 5, which is another video I have up on YouTube, and watch that project first. That project shows 4 very good end zone points, 3 from Brute Squad, 1 from Riot, over the last couple of seasons. And it really sets the stage for what good end zone O looks like. And it's also going to put you in a good mood, because you're going to see lots of good end zone O. And the other clips from this video might suck that good mood away. So what are you going to see in Ultimate Project 5? Clip 1, you're going to see a great block by Christy Kim. You're going to see people stack and get to the back of the end zone. You're going to see an easy goal for Brute Squad. On the second clip, you're going to see bad position from Brute Squad at first. You're going to see people clear to the middle and the back. You'll see Kathy Dobson get to the middle from bad position. You'll see Sarah Jacoby clear to the back, and then an easy goal for Sarah Jacoby. Number 3, this is the Riot clip. You're going to see the Riot players in the middle of the end zone staying out of the way and occupying their defenders, including some of the best players in the world there, just standing around, occupying their defenders, and then a cutter comes from across the back of the end zone and an easy goal. Number 4, you're going to see a huck to Reina. You're going to see the Brute Squad players come down the field quickly, get to the middle and slash back of the end zone, and you're going to see an easy goal for Kathy Dobson. So the theme for good end zone O is people working together, staying out of each other's way, and the person who has the good cut, which is usually going to come, or often at least comes from the back of the end zone, get an easy score. Okay, so why don't you watch that first, and then we'll talk about the 2 clips here. Okay, so here's what we're going to see. We're going to see some end zone struggles from Brute Squad in the Brute Squad Scandal game from June 25th, 2011 at Boston Invite. The first clip is coming up. I've drawn the positions of the 7 Brute Squad players when the disc comes in. This disc is coming back after a foul call, so people aren't necessarily in good position, and you wouldn't expect them to be in good position. To set the stage on the field, because it's a little hard to see, the Brute Squad player who's furthest back here, Ralph, judging from other bits in this video where people are pulling, I'd say she's about 5 yards from the front of the end zone, and the disc coming in is probably 20 to 25 yards from the end zone. Okay, so let's watch this clip. It's about 30 seconds long. Okay, I've actually spent a long time thinking about what to try to say on this and how to sort of fix things and improve it, and I'm kind of struggling, so I'm just going to go sort of off the cuff here. A couple things in contrast to Ultimate Project 5. In this 30 seconds here, no one's making space. No one clears for space here. No one is deep. In fact, if you go back and watch this clip again, from the beginning, and you see the person here, Ralph, at number 4, is about 5 yards in front of the end zone. In the whole 30 seconds, while the disc spends its entire time, say 20 to 25 yards maximum away from the end zone, there's not one single Brute player ever in the end zone. And there's no looks into the end zone for anyone who has the disc the whole time. And that gets to another point. No one's even working together. Every single pass, there's nothing cutting off of it. This is really just chaos. Here's the path of the approximate path of the disc in the 30 seconds. It goes from here to the middle, immediately back over here, down here, maybe just a little bit upfield from where it started initially, down to here, where we have the only even approximate look into the end zone when Blake has the disc here just off screen. You can see a handler sort of try to shoot upfield for a short going away cut, which, you know, isn't the most, you know, certainly isn't the best look that Brute Squad can get to score. It dumps back here, comes sort of back into the middle, and then there's a turn coming over here. But you can see that even if this pass had been complete, if you go back to the clip, still there was no one to cut even for this person if she would have got the disc there. Again, off the cuff here, how could you have made this better? How could Brute have made this better? Well, the initial positions are, I've labeled and numbered them. I was going to do something else, that's why I numbered them, but I didn't do it. But I've also labeled handler, 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 cutter, 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 cutter. When the disc is coming in, none of the cutters are in position to really make a good cut for the disc. I'd like to see people just, the 4 cutters just get into the end zone and get in a stack. That leaves all this space for the handlers to play around with, and then we can get some coordinated cutting to the cones or to the front of the end zone or something, sort of like in Ultimate Project 5, number 1 and number 4. I'd like to see the cutters make space for each other. If you go back and watch this, you'll see number 3 comes and makes a cut sort of like this. It ends up with the disc over there. But what that means is she basically occupies this entire side of the field the whole time, so that when the disc sort of swings and then comes back over to here, which is this handler over here, she could have, if these cutters were clearing to the back, you would have had a look to space out here. Instead, the cutter here just sort of shuts off all of that space, and we end up, you know, on the 3rd pass with the disc basically in the same place where it started. So people get to the back and in a stack, kind of like in Ultimate Project 5, number 1 and number 4. Then the handlers have a little bit of space to work around. I'd also like to see the cutters work together. Let someone get to the back, let someone who has some space make the cut. You know, it's hard to sort of make little marginal tweaks here like we could on some of the hucks to show how to make this better. But you know, I hope maybe by comparison with Ultimate Project 5, you can see some of the chaos here. And maybe this will spark some discussions among the people watching on how to make this better. Okay, let's take a look at the next clip, which is a little bit longer, and maybe we'll see some stuff where we can make specific comments about how to improve. Okay, I think going off the cuff on this one, I think we can say a little bit more, although, again, if you compare this section here with some of the good end zone clips from Ultimate Project number 5, I think you'll at least have a good sense that this isn't as good end zone as Brute is capable of. So for most of the point here, and Brute's kind of in a blob in the middle of the field, and that, I guess that's actually a bit of an improvement over the first clip where everyone was just sort of spread out all over the place. But at least for the first half of this clip, it suffers a little bit from the same problem that the first clip had, in that the person in the back of the end zone, or back of this blob, is barely in the end zone, if they are even in the end zone at all. And what you see is when the disc goes this way, you see a lot of cuts try to kind of come tight around the blob. And there's really, you know, even if the person gets the disc, which I don't think they do very much. There's one time somebody shoots out from the front here where they do get the disc, I think. There's really nothing. There's nothing there. There's really no point to that. But if you have this, if you have these people 10 yards further back, or 15 yards further back, and they're cutting out to space when this disc comes around, they have much more space. Everyone's spread out, and you've got a chance of scoring, as opposed to just sort of coming around the blob and getting the disc, you know, 10 yards in front of the goal line with nobody to throw to. So that's one thing to notice there. The second thing to notice is that the cuts that go the other way tend to be basically flare cuts this way, or even sometimes much more horizontal cuts. And again, this you know, you just don't have a good an angle. Now, Christy Kim makes a very nice layout grab on one of these cuts and gets the disc. But imagine if on exactly the same throw that's going here, look at that angle. So it's very difficult for her to catch the disc. Now, what if she had made the exact same cut to the exact same throw from the back of the end zone on the one that she laid out to grab? My guess is if she started from the back of the end zone and cut up to the cone here, towards the cone, and the throw was exactly the same, she scores. So I think you get a good example of the bad angles that you get cutting on this side, sort of around the blob, or these flare cuts out, that you don't get very good positioning there. And in the second half of this clip, the stack actually does drift to the back a little bit, which is nice. So I think people sort of realize that we need to get further back, but you still have a couple of breakdowns, two of which I want to point out quite specifically. One time the disc does get over here. I don't remember who has it, but you get three people cutting. You see a cut come here, another cut come here, and you see a handler come this way. So the one time the disc does kind of get out to space, there's no coordination between the people who are cutting to try to score, and that sort of defeats the purpose. And then right at the end on the turn, you do have Christy Kim, I think, again, sort of nicely positioned in the back of the end zone here, and then there's someone sort of comes in from the front here, and you have kind of the same pass that Christy laid out to get before, and you almost have the experiment that I wanted to have to begin with. You do actually have Christy coming from the back, and my guess is she gets to this disc, but the person coming from the middle of the stack, for lack of a better word, doesn't have a very good angle, and the disc just gets by her a little bit. Christy looks open for the cut there. So again, you've got very little coordination between any of the brute players here. For the first half of this clip, you've got people who are just staying too far forward. No one's creating space. No one's deep. When people do get deep, you get multiple cuts either over to this side or to the other side when you get the eventual turn. So, I think the whole point of this is just contrast. I think watching Ultimate Project number 5, I think sets the stage in your mind for what is good end zone O and what's not as good end zone O, I suppose. And hopefully plants the seed of here's where you want to get to some of this stuff in Ultimate Project number 5. It sets the stage for how important it is in the end zone just to clear space, and it sets the stage at how important angles are in cutting. So, look, I'm probably not all that happy with how this project turned out, but I hope the contrast between these two clips and the ones in Ultimate Project 5 is useful.